So today we're going to talk about a research paper I did over heartworm preventatives and which type to pick for your dog and your family specifically. So to start off with a little bit about myself, my name is Megan Olson. I am a chemical engineering student who has an interest in being in the veterinary medicine field. So I did shadow vet for about a year my senior year to learn more about the field, and then also studied many different veterinary medicines to just learn more about the field I was interested in. I also have two dogs myself, one medium-sized dog around 23 pounds and then one large-sized dog around 55 pounds, which gives me a little bit of an understanding of which heartworm preventatives to pick, because I looked into what was best for me for both of my dogs. I acquired one of them about a year ago and the other one just a few months ago, and they're actually on different heartworm preventatives, but we'll talk about that later. So the major audience for this presentation / my research paper is any dog owner. As you can see in the diagram, heartworms are found in all 50 states. Some people believe that it's just in the warmer states because they are spread by mosquitoes, but they haven't been found even in the cooler states, so everyone should have their dog on heartworm preventatives. Now, cats can get heartworms too, even though dogs are their major hosts, and so it's important to have your cats on heartworm preventatives as well. This paper does mostly talk about preventatives for dogs, but the same brands offer preventatives for cats, so if a cat owner were to read or watch this, they could go into the internet and search and look at what the topics that need to be reviewed to pick the best heartworm medicine for their animal as well. So the importance of preventing heartworms. Heartworms are bad news. So they live in the heart, lungs, and blood vessels of your pet. You can see this from the diagram. The little white strings are the heartworms as they're going through the heart and into the blood vessels. So they can cause lung disease, heart failure, and damage to other organs. Basically, it slowly and painfully kills your animal. Now, this is not something that you or your animal wants to have to go through. Now, it is a slow-moving process, and so a lot of times the symptoms can't be readily seen at first, but as time progresses, it becomes worse and worse. It's painful for the animal to move around, to breathe. If it gets too excited, it can cause it to be in pain. And once those symptoms become visible to the owner, a lot of times it has progressed so much that treatment itself can be extreme on the animal, put it through a lot of stress, and sometimes your pet may not make it through the treatment. So a lot of times we just want to prevent in order to not have to put our pet through pain. Also, heartworm treatment is extremely expensive, so people who say, oh, I can't afford heartworm preventative, heartworm treatment is probably about 5 times more expensive. And we'll also discuss that later as well, because there are some heartworm preventative options that aren't as expensive. So overview of design. We're just going to talk about the design of the paper itself, which will be in the description in case you want to read it. But basically, I broke down each heartworm brand that I reviewed by length, administration, protection, price, availability, and success rate. Now, in the next slide, we'll go over in more detail what those categories mean. Basically, those categories are the whole basis of this paper, and the best ways to kind of compare the brands to see what would work for you. So I did a lengthy analysis of each brand based on these categories, and then I made 2 different tables. One table breaks down each brand into the categories so that you can see it without having to read the paper. It has like the column for price and the column for availability. If you want more detail, you can go back and read the more extensive, lengthy part of the paper. And then table 2 basically breaks down it into my personal recommendations for different family types, including a busy family, a low-income family, the average family, and a rural family. So these different types of, these different types of families are what I would find the most common to be, and then they also each have a different unique set of problems that they need to fix with their heartworm medicine. So breaking down the categories better so that you can understand them. Length is basically how long the preventative lasts. Most last a month, but we do have some that last 6 months, a year, different varieties like that. Also administration, a lot of people are aware of like the pill, but there's also topical solutions, oral solutions that are not a pill but like a liquid, and then also shots. So protection, what the preventative protects against. For a lot of people, heartworm medicine is just heartworm medicine, but you can also get heartworm medicine that protects against fleas and ticks and mange and different kinds of worms like hookworms and roundworms. These are important for people who live in larger cities where these kind of run rampant, because your dog can get different types of worms and fleas from other dogs that aren't protected. Price, how expensive the preventative is. So I'm gonna break down the price per month based on a medium-sized dog. So for a smaller dog or a larger dog, the price will be a little different, but just to give you a basis of how the different medicines compare. Availability is where the preventative is available. Some of the preventatives are available at the veterinarian's office, online, in local stores. Other ones aren't so widely available because they're not as popular. So for someone who needs to have heartworm medicine every month and doesn't really have good internet access or doesn't like to order things online, it may be a little harder for them to find a specific brand of heartworm medicine. The success rate. How well does it protect against heartworms? So basically, each heartworm medicine went through multiple lab trials before it was approved, and they saw the success rate, whether it be 95%, 90%, 100%. So we'll go into that detail as well. Now, this is a small detail because most of them are around the same, but it does have an effect, and you should look at it a little bit. But if there is a heartworm preventative that stands out, that's definitely the best for your family, but it's only 95% effective. The chance of your pet getting heartworms is pretty low, so if it works for you, that's what you should do. So basically, this is the table that is inside of my report. So you can see that I compared HeartGuard, Trifexis, ProHeart, Advantage Multi, and ivermectin. Now, I'm not gonna read this whole chart. You're more than welcome to pause it and look at it, but I'm gonna go over some of the highlights. So HeartGuard is probably what most of y'all's pets are on. HeartGuard is definitely the most widely available and recommended by most veterinarians, including my own personal veterinarian. It's a monthly pill. It's actually chewable and it has a beef flavor to it, so a lot of pets take it pretty easily. You don't have to wrap it in anything or give a treat with it or whatever it is, the treat itself. So for vets, it's definitely a bonus that your pet can take it easily, and it's also pretty cheap at only $5 a month. This is because HeartGuard only protects against heartworms, roundworms, and hookworms. So this may seem like a lot, but compared to some of the other options that you can see, it's not that much. Because heartworms is the most readily available everywhere, you can get it literally everywhere, including probably your local Walmart, your vet's office, Petco, PetSmart, just wherever you shop. Tractor Supply, I've seen it there before. So it is only 95% effective, so not 100%, but the chances of your pet getting it are pretty slim. HeartGuard also, most of the time, if they have a free or low-cost clinic at your local Tractor Supply or your local animal shelter, this is the kind of heartworm medicine they provide your animal. So you can get it for quite a bit cheaper if you go to one of these clinics, but it's just finding one in your area. I know in our area, our Tractor Supply puts one on once a month for people to come in. They can get their animal tested and get a 6-month pack of heartworm medicine. Now, one thing that we do need to talk about with heartworm medicine is most heartworm medicines, you do have to get weighed by a veterinarian clinic and get their approval before you can buy it in stores or online. So even if you're like, oh, I'll just go pick it up at Walmart, you still have to go into your vet and get them to weigh and get them to send approval to Walmart so that you can buy it there. So my recommendation would be to shop around, look online, look in stores, see if you have any low-cost clinics around, and find the lowest price, and then go from there. So most low-cost clinics do the heartworm test as well, so you can get tested there, get weighed there, and then get the pill without ever having to step into the veterinarian's office. Completely up to you. So Trifexis is actually what I have my larger dog on at the moment. I decided to put her on this pill because it does cover against so many things: heartworms, fleas, hookworms, whipworms, etc. So fleas are really important to me because I do live in a tightly condensed neighborhood. So if any dogs in the neighboring houses have fleas, they can get to my backyard and that can affect my dog. And it's cheaper to buy Trifexis, which has the fleas and the heartworms together, than it is to buy Heartguard and NexGard separately, which is heartworms for Heartguard and then fleas for NexGard. So that is what I provide her with. It is a pill and it's not flavored, so you do have to wrap it in something. I personally wrap it in like a sandwich turkey, but you can get those little pill pockets or a treat or something similar. It is quite a bit more expensive than Heartguard, but that's because you're factoring in the fact that it does cover for fleas. So if you were to buy Heartguard and NexGard, which would cover for heartworms and fleas, it would be just as expensive, if not more expensive. It only has a 90% effective rate, which I know you're probably wondering, like, why do you put your dog on something that only has a 90% effective rate? Mostly because it's most convenient for me, and the chances of my dog getting heartworms are really low. I do bring her in for a yearly heartworm check, so I am on top of it, making sure that, you know, this isn't a problem for us. So the next one is ProHeart. ProHeart is relatively new to the market, so it is a shot. So ProHeart 6 lasts 6 months and ProHeart 12 lasts a year. ProHeart 12 was just certified and put into animal shelters and veterinarian clinics in July of 2019. So it's relatively new, but from the lab tests, they actually found that it was 100% effective, and then ProHeart 6 was 99.9% effective. Now you're probably looking at Heartguard, Trifexis, ProHeart, and wondering why are their their success rates so different. That's because each different kind of heartworm medicine uses a different active ingredient. So with ProHeart 6, and then when you look over to Advantage Multi, they both use the same active ingredient, so you can see both their effective rates are pretty much 100%. With ProHeart, it is all about convenience. So your 6-month and 12-month shot, you only have to go to the vet once every 6 months or 12 months. With Heartguard, Trifexis, all these other things, it's based on weight, and so you do have to go to the vet probably once a month if you have a puppy or a dog that fluctuates in weight, so they can get different weight readings each month to give you the right size pill, because it is weight based. Also, Trifexis and Heartguard, you have to remember to give your dog a pet pill every month. So for a busy family who's always running around, traveling, whatever the situation is, it may be harder to remember to give your dog a pill once a month than get a shot once every 6 months or once every year. It does prevent against heartworms and hookworms. Now, it doesn't say on the website or in any of the readings that I did that it protects against hooked worms, but when looking into the active ingredient in ProHeart, you can see that that active ingredient actually does protect against hookworms. So it's not a guarantee by the company, but based on the active ingredient inside the medicine, you can assume that your dog will be protected from hookworms. For Advantage Multi, this is definitely one of the stronger ones. So it protects against pretty much everything you can think of. So heartworms, hookworms, whipworms, roundworms, fleas, and mange. So you're probably wondering, like, why doesn't everyone put their dog on that? Because Advantage Multi is a topical solution. So you put it on the back of your dog's neck. You can find instructions on how to do it online. It's not hard, but your dog does need to stay dry between 24 and 36 hours or it'll wash off and not be effective. So it is 100% effective if you do it correctly and it doesn't get wet. It's $18 a month, which isn't bad considering it protects against so many things. And I have considered moving my larger dog onto this. Now you're probably wondering why my smaller dog or medium-sized dog is on a different thing. I put him on Heartguard because when we got him from a shelter, he did have mange. So his mange medicine works best with Heartguard, and that's what was recommended by a veterinarian. So that is why he's on Heartguard instead of Trifexis or Advantage Multi or something different. Now, ivermectin is not a brand. It's actually the active ingredient in Heartguard, but you can buy it in a bulk container because people use it for their farm animals. So where I live, there's a lot of hunting dogs. I worked with a hunter here who used the dogs, and to protect his dogs from heartworms, he used ivermectin. It was actually recommended by his veterinarian. So it's actually less than 5 cents a month, and you don't have to go in and get a weight from your veterinarian, although I do recommend it because if you give your dog the wrong amount, it can hurt your dog. So what you need is a small syringe, and you can get the medicine in the syringe and then give it to your dog by mouth. Now that's definitely a cheaper option. If that's something you're interested in, I would read my paper and then talk to your veterinarian about it to get a second opinion. So table 2 is basically a family-based recommendation. So I broke it down and said that a busy family would have ProHeart better because of what I talked about. You only have to go in the veterinarian's office once every 6 months or 12 months. A low-income family would probably benefit from ivermectin because it is less than 5 cents a month and you can buy it on Amazon without ever having to go into the veterinarian and get a weight reading. For a rural family, I definitely recommend Heartgard because you can get it pretty much anywhere. I'm sure the local feed store will have it. Dollar General, whatever you have in your area. The average family, Advantage Multi. If you're willing to take the time to put it on your dog and make sure it doesn't get wet, it's definitely worth the $18 a month. It protects against so many things, and if you're like me and you have close neighbors, it's so easy for your dog to catch something from someone else's dog. And that's something that's kind of out of your control personally, but if you're already protecting against it, then you never even have to worry about it. So this conceptual model basically just breaks down the paper into each brand and then what each brand does best. So Heartgard is widely available, ivermectin is low cost, ProHeart is long lasting, Advantage Multi has a high protection rate for everything, and Trifexis is an easy to give pill that covers for both fleas and heartworms. So if you want to look into this more deeply, you can. Feel free to pause the video at any time. Challenges faced. So this definitely was not an easy research paper. There was less information over this than I assumed there would be. So I had to sign up for many veterinary medicine research sites in order to get access to the articles that I needed. And then also ivermectin is not really a heartworm brand. So I did have to go talk to my local veterinarian and see what he had to say about it and then do a little bit of research about it. And that's how I came to my conclusions about ivermectin as a brand. My veterinarian personally thinks that it's a good option for people who can't afford regular heartworm medicine, but because it is based on how much you give them, the chances of being 100% protected against heartworms is less because you could give them the wrong amount for their weight or whatever reason, and so your chances drop from 95% to 80%. So that's something you definitely have to be careful about. But if you can't afford to go buy Heartgard or something similar, then it's definitely a good option for you and your dog because something is always better than nothing. So this is just a list of my sources. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in the full article, I will put it in the description.